There's a part of the forest the locals refuse to hunt, a place avoided even by the boldest men, known as the Whispering Grove. It isn't marked on maps, but everyone in the village knows where it begins, where the trees grow too close together, their trunks twisted unnaturally, and their bark scarred like burned flesh. On still nights, if you stand at the edge, the wind doesn't howl, it whispers. No one dares to follow those sounds, no one except Elias. Elias was not the kind of man who bowed to superstition. He was a hunter's hunter, a man who had tracked wolves through snowstorms and brought down bears with nothing but patience and steel nerves. To him, stories of ghosts and curses were distractions for weak men who had failed in the hunt. So, when the rumors spread of a massive white boar roaming the grove, a beast with a scarred back, enormous tusks, and eyes that glowed in the dark, Elias dismissed the warnings. One late autumn evening, he crossed the boundary. The villagers watched him go, shaking their heads, the older hunters whispering that Elias would never return, that the grove takes what it wants. But Elias laughed, rifle in hand, dog at his side, and vanished into the trees. At first, the woods seemed ordinary, though quieter than usual, far too quiet. No bird song, no rustle of squirrels, not even the distant crack of deer in the brush. Just the sound of Elias's boots grinding over dead leaves and the slow, deliberate tick of his pocket watch. He muttered to himself about foolish tailies, but the silence gnawed at him until he became aware of his own breathing and the thud of his pulse in his ears. Then he heard it, footsteps, heavy and deliberate, circling just beyond the reach of his lantern. He stopped, listened, raised his rifle. Nothing. Only shadows shifting between the crooked trees. Then came the voices, faint at first, so faint. He thought it was blood rushing in his ears, but soon they grew clearer, calling his name. Elias, Elias, drawn-out syllables that seemed to rise from the ground itself. His dog bristled, ears pinned back, whining in terror, straining so hard at the leash Elias could barely hold him. At dusk, when the last shred of sunlight faded, the grove revealed its guardian. From the thickest cluster of trees stepped Ghostback, the beast of legend, towering, broad as a bull, scarred from old battles, white as bone. Its hide gleamed with unnatural pallor, but it was the eyes that froze Elias, the burning amber glow of something ancient, not of an animal, but of a spirit that had been watching men trespass for centuries. Elias tried to raise his rifle, but his arms felt pinned by invisible chains. The whispers grew louder, circling him, filling every space between the trees. Stay, stay forever. The forest itself seemed to close in, trunks leaning inward, branches knitting above him, shadows swallowing the path he had taken. Elias fired anyway, one desperate shot. The bullet passed through Ghostback's body as though through smoke. The boar did not bleed. It did not flinch. It only stared. His dog slipped free of the leash and bolted, howling into the night. Elias called after it, but his voice broke as the whispers rose into a chant that drowned him out. He was never seen again. Weeks later, a search party found his belongings, rifle, satchel, jacket laid neatly in the center of the grove, as if placed with deliberate care. No tracks led in or out. Only scorched hoof-like prints burned deep into the ground. Since that day, the legend of Ghostback has grown. The older hunters swear it is no ordinary beast, but a spirit cursed to guard the grove for eternity. Some say it was once a warrior's soul, others a demon bound to the land. What all agree on is this: those who hear the whispers are marked. Some return pale and trembling, unable to speak of what they saw, their hands shaking too violently to hold a cup. Others wander back days later, eyes vacant, muttering again and again, "It called me by name." And some never return. The forest itself plays tricks on those who enter. Hunters tell of paths that shift, of clearings that vanish. When you step inside, of time behaving strangely. One man swore he spent only an hour inside, yet 3 days had passed outside. Another returned with hair gone stark white, claiming he had walked beside Elias in the dark for days before realizing Elias cast no shadow. Children dare each other to creep near the edge of the grove at night, pressing their ears against the trees to listen. Some come back laughing nervously, claiming they heard nothing. Others run screaming, swearing the trees whispered their names, and so the whispering grove remains untouched. No hunter follows game into it. No boar, no deer. No prize is worth the risk. Yet on still nights, villagers say the voices drift across the fields, always the same chant. Stay, stay forever. And sometimes, just sometimes, another voice joins them. The voice of Elias, still calling for his dog, still trying to find his way out. So, if you ever find yourself in those woods, remember, if the forest falls silent, if the shadows grow too deep, and if the whispers call your name, do not follow. Do not linger. Run, because nothing you hunt is worth what waits in the whispering grove.
If you'll enjoy this video, please like and subscribe my channel for more information.